This video is going to be a recap of all the visual evidence I've collected over the last couple of years. For the left brain analytical mind that says show me, this will be the F what you heard, believe what you see part of the 10th level Jedi College course curriculum. So I can get back to the spiritual side of this. This is the first scene of a music video that I looked up the other day because I was thinking of a song that it was flashing through my mind and I had blown it off a couple times. And the third time I said, okay, stop what you're doing. And I remember this song, where the guy's in the music video standing on top of the building looking down at the people on New York City streets. And he's considering jumping off the building, and he looks down on the edge of the building and sees some ants walking back and forth, and he sees the people down on the street below, and he looks back at the ants, and he says he walked upon high and stepped to the edge to see the world below, and the tears rolled down because it was the world he'd known. And it was the song I was flashing back on, and so I said, yeah, let me see it, and I clicked on it, and this was the first scene in that video, and this image dropped my jaw, because these color bands are the plasma bands that I have been documented on video that are going to be part of what I think I am using as a process to be able to see the things that we're going to be able to see. By adjusting the color contrast, it works like an X-ray, and this radiation, by adjusting the color contrast, it allows you to reveal what's in the sky up here in the form of an X-ray image. By adjusting the color contrasts on your phone using this, and you can see things that are just beyond the color spectrum of our visible light spectrum that we're able to see with our eyes. These are also the colors that Mr. MBB333 puts in his videos every single day that weren't there before, that make these colorful clouds that we see that used to only be in the Arctic Circle, where the magnetic field is weak enough that it allows the solar plasma through to create this effect in those clouds. But now we see it all over the world. The jagged edges around these color bands are the same jagged edges of the light patterns that you see in the northern lights, the aurora borealis, when the magnetic field allows the solar plasma through and those colors dance through the Alaskan skies, the northern lights. They go in wave band patterns that look exactly like this, along with the colors, and that's what we're seeing. And that's exactly what happened in some of the videos that I'm about to show you, where the magnetic field was broken, and these colors come through, and there are vehicles traveling through what appears to be a portal where the magnetic field was broken. These colors come through, and you can see the broken flux lines and the circular craft strap in. Here you can see a circle with a triangle in the middle. Now I'm about to show you some stuff that's much more clear than this, but there's a reason this triangle with the circle matters. And a big shout out to YouTube. Not only have they returned my videos, but they've upgraded the resolution. So people that saw these videos originally, these screenshot slideshows, have all been upgraded other than one. And so I'm gonna go ahead and ask YouTube to go ahead and upgrade the one titled X-ray Images of Airborne Aircraft Carrier, because they don't really show anything that all of the others they've upgraded don't show. Here you can see the triangle within the circle as it zooms in and out. The Ken Burns effect downgraded a lot of the video, but they've upgraded it to 1080p now, so you can see this triangle within a circle right over here. And you can see it above what is like a Toyota Camry. This is in a video called Toyota versus TR3B at the very bottom of my YouTube page. So here's the triangle within the circle. Right there's the middle of the triangle. There's the middle of the triangle. And you can see it much more clearly, middle of the triangle right there. Right here. Right there. Right there. And this is important for a reason. Because it's the reason that all of these space agencies have a circle with a triangle, and there's the Star Trek emblem. NASA, U.S. Air Force Space Command. Here's the newest one, Space Force. The triangle and the circle exist within just about all of them. Circle in a triangle, circle in a triangle, circle in a triangle, triangle within a circle, excuse me. That one's got the triangle within the circle as well. So is this one. The circle is the globe right beneath the triangle right there. This is the 18th Intelligence Wing of the United States Air Force, basically Space Force. Again, with the triangle within a circle. And this is one of the known triangular shaped aircraft. And this is what we're going to see a bunch of, parked 2 by 2 by 2 all over in the sky when we zoom into and contrast what's in the sky, in the clouds, with my own camera and other people's videos. But you notice the edge and the ends of these have the same looking shape on the tail. And this is the screenshot cover photo of X-ray images of airborne aircraft carrier video that still hasn't been upgraded to 1080p. So it does show some good images, but those same images are shown on plenty of the other video that we're going to cover here, along with what appears to be machinery, electronics, and cityscape in the sky. But first we're going to start with something only 2 steps instead of 10 steps into the Twilight Zone. And just to finish my thought, to the YouTube administrators, if you go ahead and upgrade that video titled Airborne X-ray Images of an Airborne Aircraft Carrier, I'll go ahead and make a follow-up video for my viewers to let them know that that request was fulfilled, and that might be a good grassroots PR campaign that you guys might see fit to do. Plus, it seems that they've upgraded the resolution of all the others, so they seem to have just overlooked that one, and it appears as if someone went along one by one and upgraded them. So this is a screenshot slideshow from the bottom from my YouTube page regarding Mr. MBB 333's Woodbury Wildfire video, and the link to the source video is in the description of this screenshot slideshow. And that is the case with all of these screenshot slideshows. Where I got the screenshot from is linked in the description. So what you're going to see is some of these black dot craft. This is Mr. MB3's cursor. That is a black dot craft. And in this video, he is showing you, there it is again. It is a triangle, and he is pointing. He's saying, look, see? Can you see it there behind me? As if you can't see that great big cloud. See it up here? And when I contrast it out, he even contrasts it out for you. It's a fire, and he contrasts it out like that. He's showing you that it's right there. Right there. See it? And he points behind himself. He says, you see it back there? As if you can't see the giant cloud of smoke behind him. And I contrast it out even further, and this is what we get. I just reduced some of the light coming in the room. Again, the link is in the description, or you can just scroll to my homepage where it says MB3 Woodbury Wildfire video, but you can see that there's intelligent design here, and there's high definition of these ridges that are along that triangle craft. And by going to the link in the description or scrolling down to my homepage and watching this video, you eliminate the lines in the screen. And this screen and the camera lens that it's looking into now, and there's some clearly high definition intelligent design to this. Let me pull it back here so you can get a shot of the whole thing. I'll unzoom it, that would help. See how high definition these ridges are up here? There's even these little dots along the edges there. And it's like each one of the ridges has its own little ridges along here. So typically there's a little arrow right down here, and you click that and you get the link in the description there, and that's the original video that Mr. MBB333 produced, where he's over-exaggeratedly pointing back there and saying, you see it? Right back there over my shoulder? You see that? You see it? And he's trying to get you to see that there's a little black dot up here. And we're also going to talk about and show you stuff having to do with the cathedral, where Logic Before Authority spotted one of these black dot craft uncloaking apparently right above the cathedral, Notre Dame, as it burned, from the Westin Hotel camera across the street. And from that video, I take a screenshot and do my contrast. And that's about 20 steps into the Twilight Zone, so we got a lot to cover here, and this is going to be a few-part video series. So this is my homepage sorted. You hit sort by oldest, and this is from the bottom up. And right here is Toyota versus TR3B, where you can see this triangle and a Toyota car right here. And we'll also check it out because there's also the Death Star, what I call the Death Star, over here in the clouds. I kind of got way ahead of myself there, but we're just going to have to plow through this. There is what appears to be something like the Death Star, like a sphere, a gray sphere with a dent in it. And you can see this triangle within the circle here. And in some of these frames you can see a Toyota down here, give you a size reference. There's the gray circle, the sphere over here, right there where my cursor is, with the dent in the center. There's also what appears to be a circle here, and a black dot in the middle, and possibly one up here. But we're about to see some orbs that are clear and very present. In the same 6 seconds as appeared this sphere, the triangle within the circle, and all of these color bands around the sun when the magnetic field breaks. So we're going to cut to that now. This one's TR3B enters the plasma portal. And you can see the color bands around the edges here. There's the circle and the triangle again. Right? And there's the car. And you can still see the circle and the triangle right there. Right there. Right there. But then what we're about to see is there's a break in the magnetic field up here, and all these color bands pour through, and there's a couple other orbs up here that are going to become very clear. And those same color bands are what I showed you at the beginning of this video. We'll pause it when it hits a spot where it's easy to see the color bands up close and the orbs. But like I said, you can go, so you can see some of these color bands up here. You can go to the original video and it's much more clear. But this is the breaking of the magnetic field and allowing of that that solar plasma through the atmosphere when whatever these vehicles are transporting through what appears to be a hole in the magnetic field that breaks directly in alignment with the sun. There's the triangle within the circle, and you can see all these color bands around the edges here. Those are the same color bands that he was showing on the beginning of that video by Collective Soul called The World I Know. And it's the same color as comes through in the northern lights, Aurora Borealis. You can see it much more clear if you go directly to the video. Right here it's a lot more grainy, but you can see the jagged edge wave band pattern and all the different colors. And during this 19-second video that I accidentally took, 6 seconds where there were these concentric rings around the sun, all going inward toward the sun. And all I have left is these still frames from that video before the video got deleted. Here in a second you can see the Toyota. There's the car. And you can see the car in the frame along with the triangle right there in the same frame right there. Triangle above the car. And then here in a minute you're going to see some of these other circular orbs that appear up by the sun, but you can see those color bands. And I'll show you a screenshot slideshow that basically shows it in sequence where the sun goes from normal. There's that triangle. The sun goes from normal and you see a couple of the flux lines break up here and then the color bands appear. So that one was called TR3B enters the plasma portal because we were focused on the triangle within the circle. This is multiple clearly UFO of visible going through it. And now you can see these orbs here and here. And this was during that same 6 seconds of the video where these color bands are clearly present around the sun. And here you can see one there and one there. And you can see these in the same frame. And you can really clearly see the color bands around the sun there too. So what's happening there is there's a break in the magnetic field that's opening as a portal directly in alignment with the sun, and these beings or vehicles or whatever they are travel through it. There's the Death Star and there's the other two here, and that's a lens flare in the middle. Click the actual video and it's much more clearly. You can see the definition of the line of the color bands. Here's the Death Star. So these three are all present in the same frame. And I have another one where the Death Star is present in the same frame along with the circle with the triangle in it down here. So these two may actually be, one of these two may actually be that circle with a triangle in it that you saw down here. And you see all the color band patterns around the edge here as they're going in and through. It almost seems to make the lines on the computer less blurry if I keep the camera moving for some reason. There you can see the color bands. And here in a minute you'll see the break in the magnetic field. These lines right here, those are flux lines, one going that way and one coming this way, that break in the magnetic field. There's another one where there's only one of those flux lines is broken, not both of them, but that's the magnetic field flux lines breaking. Like I said, I'll show you a sequence video where you can see approximately what the video must have looked like during that 6 seconds while this happened. You can also see there's a hexagonal shape to the sun. It's clearly got 6 sides as this is happening. You can see the color bands there. That's part of that. Hexagonal. So this one's called Space Force Transiting the Solar Portal, and you can see it starts out with the sun somewhat normal. I'm filming it out my car window. There's my mirror. Sun looks fairly normal. Not really hexagonal shape yet, but it is stretched up at this edge and down at this edge. Click the original video for much greater clarity. Here's the van for a size reference. And as we go through the frames here, you'll see one magnetic field flux line break upper left. right there. On the upper left of the sun over here is a magnetic flux line breaking, and the sun begins to take a hexagonal shape. Now it's even more, and you can start to see the color bands around the edges, and there's two flux lines broken, and it takes more of a hexagonal shape. Now you can see the color bands around the edge are jagged, just like the northern lights, this jagged edge around the outermost band. And there were all concentric rings going around, but you can see it stops right here. The bands stop right there, and there is a circle with a dot in the middle right there on the line where the plasma bands stop right there at the upper left 45-degree angle. 10 o'clock, so to speak. Now you can see the color bands are further. There's two rings around the edge, and now the orbs start to appear here in a minute. You can already see the Death Star there in the corner. Two broken flux lines here. And it's taken a hexagonal shape on the sun. And now you see those two orbs have appeared. They're going through the break in the magnetic field. And they may be the same exact type as this, whatever it is. And you see all the color bands around the edge? Because the magnetic field's broken, just like in the North Pole and the South Pole, where the northern lights dance across the sky. Right there you have a hole in the magnetic field that simulates the same thing, allowing the solar plasma through, creating that lighting effect. Here you can faintly see the one down there. Click on the actual video to get the digital quality. It's much better. But that leaves one step between you and this information if you don't want it. It's like Prometheus's torch. You got to reach out and grab it yourself if you want it. And if clicking the link in the description or going onto the home page and finding this and looking at the original digital quality is more than you're willing to do, then you don't really want it that bad. This is deceiving. It says Square Sun Simulator with contrast added. I have added no contrast or any color adjustments to any of these videos with the solar plasma coming through the portal. I mislabeled that, but don't be deceived. We'll watch Death Star close-ups here. So this one's called Death Star Close-Ups. Visible radiation bands terminate at the point of a craft transiting the portal. And that is a reference to this line where the color bands seem to come to a stop right there. And you can see the edge of my mirror over here. And what we're going to focus in on is this Death Star looking one. Like I said, I'm going to just try and breeze through these. Go to the original and see much higher quality and resolution of the picture if you want. But these have all been from the bottom. You can see the color bands around the sun in this. Pretty good. Yeah, go to the original video, much higher quality. You can see the high resolution. And if you take a screenshot and zoom in right there you can see the circle with the dot in it right there. Front of my finger. So there's a reason those color bands terminate right there where that circle with the dot is in it, because it's going through the portal right there. You can see those color bands terminate right there. There's the Death Star. We're gonna go back and pause that. Right there is the circle with the dot in it. You go to the original video and you can clearly see it. Right there. That's right where these color bands come to an end, where the break in the magnetic field only allows the color here, the radiation coming through here. And speaking of radiation, Mr. MB333 has done multiple videos on carrots growing in like 4 or 5, tomatoes, sunflowers, all having mutations. Sunflowers sprouting their seeds from within the tomato, sprouting green leaves right out the end of the tomato in a new plant. So now what it's going to focus on here is the Death Star. And I believe what this is, those triangle with the circle around it, it is a force field around the craft. The anti-gravitational craft has, it also bends light around the craft. So if they're in the clouds, they look like this. They look like the backdrop of the clouds behind them. If they're in the sky, they look like the backdrop of the sky behind them, but the one that was up against the mountains as a backdrop, we could see the triangular craft in the middle. Here at the top you can see, oops, because I'm covering it, you can see the circle with the dot in it, right there where the termination line of the light goes to, right there. So the other two are clearly visible here, but the one that's on the line is important because it interacts with the magnetic field breaking here. Even though it's harder to see, you can see the other two clearly when they're here and here. This one's harder to see, but it's right there on that line of light that stops right there at the 45-degree angle where one's going in through the break in the magnetic field. It's like a tunnel with the magnetic field being broken around it, letting that solar plasma in the form of radiation. And this is happening all over, and that's why we see those colorful clouds on Mr. MB3's. This one's called Plasma-Powered Thunderbirds Source video. But turn the volume all the way down and pay no attention to the crazy guy behind the camera telling you that the clouds are shape-shifting and talking to him. We're just going to look at these little black dot craft that appear in the sky. There's one. We'll pause it. There's one that is predominantly there the whole time. You can see it here. There's two more that appear below it in a triangular shape, one there and one there. And when they do, when these two others that come into view by this one come into view, they kind of come into view and come out of view, but not intermittently, not necessarily like pulsating. There's the one that's there the whole time. When the two below it come into view, there's also one here and about 10 others over here in the clouds to the left and a few over here and all these black dot craft. And I'm going to show you others that have shown up in Joe Imbriano's video and others, but it's probably much like what we just saw behind MB3 and what we also saw at the Notre Dame Cathedral that Logic Before Authority saw when one of these was visible. And what I believe happens in... We'll explain the plasma cam contrast later. Let's go ahead and play this video. So I zoom in right here past it, and then I come back to it, and it's still there. The black dot right here. This is original video. 30 seconds in. Here's the other two that appear below it. Intermittently, they come in view and go out of view. And at about 45 seconds, right as I cut to another scene, that's when you can see them the most. You can pause it and see all the others that are visible at the same time. What I'm saying is they all come in view and into view and out of view simultaneously. See them all down here? There's one right here. There's one right there. That's at 30 seconds, 28 seconds, and I go to another scene. So this is right at 40 seconds. You can see the main one here that I talked about. There's one here. And one here. There's also one here. here. Over here, just to the left of this flagpole sticking up, you'll see a couple appear. Looks like there's one right up here. And you'll see that these all become visible at the same time that these other two become visible. Once you spot one of them anywhere, looks like there's one right there. There's one here. There's one there and there. One here. So here's the main one that's visible for the first 40 seconds. Then there's another one and another one that come into view and out of view simultaneously, along with all of these other ones that are much harder to see, but they're there. There's one here and one there and one there. There's clearly one here. So that's the best one to choose to try to view after you've spotted these two. Where are they? These two, that one, and that one. Let me try and do this right here. There we go. They come into view simultaneously with this one. That one's clearly present the whole time for the first 50 seconds. Now I made a screenshot slideshow where I zoom in on one of these. By the way, you saw those plasma bands around the sun, how they kind of had a mirror image going back? You can kind of see the same mirror image on the outer edge right here as here. See how I'm kind of tracing the same shape right there? Along with out here, you kind of see the hologram, Hall of Mirrors effect going back in. Anyway. These things may be emitting frequencies is what we'll talk about in a little while. But first we're just going to look at them, and then I'll show you a screenshot slideshow of them right now. But total, there's about 13 that you can count all through here. We're also going to see some white dot craft, but you can even see them right here as I'm backed off. See a couple there, one here. These just kind of appear and disappear behind what I think is like a LCD, your liquid crystal display here in your flat screen. I think it's like a PCD, plasma crystal display, from what's sprinkled in the sky in the crystals. But hold that thought. So the one we just looked at was called Plasma Power Thunderbirds Source video, and it's about a 30-minute long video of me babbling and looking at the clouds. And what we're about to watch is Plasma Power Thunderbirds in Pleasant Grove, and this is what it contrasted out to be. So here in the beginning of the screenshot slideshow, you can see the main one here that's clearly visible the whole time, and the other one below it, and hit play. And this is that same cloud that you saw for the first 40 seconds in the other video we just looked at, called Plasma Powered Thunderbirds Source video.